Today's show is an AMA, the Ask Me Anything. Really what we're doing is catching up on the AMA that I was going to do when I was on vacation but didn't get to do. So now we're here to finally do it. Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live 3 times a week show here on YouTube at youtube.com/PhotoJoseph. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Talking about all kinds of things, photo, video, live streaming-ish related. If it's got a camera, it's fair game. So today's show is an AMA, and Ask Me Anything. And this may seem like a cheating show because I just came back from being gone for a long time, and you guys are like, can we get into some good stuff now? But I was going to do an AMA while I was gone. I figured that I would at least have the ability to do even if it wasn't a regular time, just a show, and I posted a thing on the community tab in YouTube. If you haven't seen that yet, I don't know how easy these are to find, but some people found them. There's a little place where I can post questions and polls and things like that. And I said, hey, if you got a question for an AMA, put it here. I'll address it at some point during my holiday. Well, that never happened, so we're going to do that today. And of course, if you have any questions, if you're watching live and you want to ask, then by all means, get them up on the screen. If you want to ask a question, what you do is you put an @PhotoJoseph in front of it, then I can see your question on the screen. Like Ernie Munnick's question, Sarah, saying, is there any way to see the f-stop setting during playback in creative video mode? No, there is not. We see ISO, white balance, profile mode, etc., but no aperture setting. No, Ernie, and you know what? That's not the only thing that's missing. There are a few things, information-wise, that are not relayed either while recording or while playing back that I wish that there were. All of that has been communicated to Panasonic. All we can do at this point is hope that in some future update, we will be able to get more information during recording and playback. But yeah, it's not there, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say. Martin's pointing out there's a new feature on YouTube. Chat is now available for replay. So after we finally got the show set up where we don't rely on the live stream, so basically the way this works is if you're watching live, you're watching obviously the live, you are participating in that chat. I am showing that chat here on my screen because I can do that. And then when the show's over, this show, the live show, goes hidden. It doesn't get erased, but it gets hidden. The only way to see it is if you have the link, if you just happen to have the link from when it went live. But we re-upload a recorded version of the show, which is cleaner. We can do cleaner endings, intros and outros, and it just overall works out better. And that's better for SEO, apparently. The theory is, and you know, this stuff changes every 2 minutes with YouTube. The theory is that live shows do very well while live, but then they do poorly afterwards. And when I look back at my statistics, Ryan was looking at all my stats for the shows, it turned out that my top 5 or top 10 shows ever, every single one of them was a live show that had been re-uploaded. So that was pretty much the aha moment. We got to re-upload everything. And that's what we do. 4 of the top 5. That's what Ryan is telling me in my ears. 4 of the top 5. Anyway, it's all good. So that's what we do. So the whole, yay, it finally replays the chat is no longer interesting to me because if I want you to see the chat, I put it here, which is kind of cool. All right, let's see here. Other questions coming up there, but let's go first to the questions that came up on the AMA post that I did, which is now 2 weeks ago. So let's just bring these up here. I said, hey, I'm on vacation, but I want to try and answer some questions. So let's see what we've got. I know some of these I kind of already addressed in here, but I'll just read through them anyway. Assured Creative Media, who is in the audience today, said, my question on the GH5S, I can select 1/50th shutter speed in manual and press the red video button. If I select the video option on the top dial, so that's the creative movie mode, he means, I only have the option to select aperture and ISO. Does the camera automatically select 2 times the frame rate, i.e. 1/50th of a second for PAL? So no, the problem that Assured Creative Media had run into was it's a little, let me just grab a camera here, let's make this a little bit easier. When you're in the standard shooting modes and you're in aperture priority or shutter priority or manual, and then you hit the little red button to record, then the mode that you're in is honored there, right? So if you're in aperture priority, so let's see here, what's going to be the easiest way to do this? I'll do this from a top down. Let's make sure that camera is focused. There we go. And okay, so if you're in aperture priority mode and you hit the red button to record video, so this is a still shooting mode, but you hit the red button to record video, then you are recording video in aperture priority. Same thing if you're P for program, you're in full automatic. If you're in S for shutter priority, you stay in shutter priority. If you're in M, you have full manual. When you go to creative movie mode, that's the little M on here. Now, does this camera even have a battery in it? Yes, it does. Get a display on there. Display. Here we go. I know this is going to be kind of hard to see there, but I'll try and make it visible. Up in the top left corner, there's a little icon, a little camera icon. It has an M on it right now. If you tap that, this is how you change between program, aperture, shutter, or manual mode. So it is a separate, it's a software button inside of the creative movie mode. to change your shooting mode. There's a lot of words mode in there, but they're used all over the place. But hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, if you're shooting in the creative movie mode, which if you're doing dedicated movie shooting, you want to be because you have additional features, additional capabilities that you don't have when you're in one of the still shooting modes and pushing the red record button, then that's how you switch it. And incidentally, once you're in the creative movie mode, you can push either the shutter button or the red record button. It doesn't matter which one you do. So there is that. This is a fun question. I didn't really think about a good answer, but I think I have a good one. Ricardo Bente says, I'm a recent subscriber. Thank you very much. I was going to try and highlight that. There we go. But you seem to come across, I guess, as like a direct, keep it simple kind of guy. I do my best. With that in mind, what was the most technical / convoluted photo or photo shoot that you've ever done? That's a really cool question. I'm going to give you the answer of the interior design piece. Let me grab it, because this is, I actually have this printed here because it came out so cool. And I have a complete video about this that I can show you. I will we'll link to that right there. And I did a whole how-to kind of behind the scenes of the creation of this. So there's the image. Make sure this is kind of somewhat visible on screen there. This is a photograph of an interior of a home, and it was for the interior decorator, for the interior designer. Yeah, interior designer. And this was one of her kind of, we call it like, not signature piece, but one of her showcase pieces. She was super proud of this one. It was a huge job, and she hired me to photograph it. And it was an interesting project on a lot of levels, and a lot of this we talk about in that video that I've already linked to up here. But there was the discussion of, well, how much money do you want to spend? You know, basically, do you want me to come in and go, click, there's a decent exposure, we have a picture, or do you want something really, really special? And this is a composite of, I'm going to get it wrong now, but I'm going to say about 20, I think that's about right, 20 different photographs. First, the scene is split into two. There's one half here, so the camera was on a tripod, and at one point for half of the shots it was pointed here, and then slightly pivoted, and the other half shot there. But the reason there's so many photos is because each critical element, so things like the chair here that she designed the cover on, this cabinet, all these individual pieces that were of particular interest and importance were individually lit. So for example, this chair, when what you're seeing here was photographed, there was a light here illuminating the side and probably one right here pointing down at it, which then that light obviously was in the way of the other shots. So I would shoot that scene for the chair. The chair was then cut out. That was shot. You know, the cabinet was shot. The pillows, even the lighting behind the glass here was a separate one. It's a whole bunch of different pictures all comped together, and that was, I would say, the most convoluted shoot that I've ever done. It took, I remember, quite a number of hours. This is quite a few years ago. Quite a number of hours to shoot it, and then even more to put it all together. But check out that video if you're interested in that sort of thing. It was a really fun, interesting experience. And the end result was spot on. I was really, really happy with it. So a cool question, Ricardo. Thanks. All righty. Let's see. Let's go back to the questions here. Sure, Creative Media. Oh, look at that. You were busy on here. Hoping you could share some advice. I currently have a GH5S. Good man. I was looking at getting an FZ2000 as a B camera. However, now I have the opportunity to get either a GH5 or G9. I shoot mainly video, but want an option for high-res stills, but still have video quality similar to the GH5S. Okay. So yeah, definitely not the FZ2000. I'm hoping you could share some experience and point in the right directions, that I'm a loss as which one to get. Okay, so you're coming from the GH5S, which its stills are only 10 megapixel. So the GH5 at its 20 megapixel stills will be high res compared to what you've got. If by high res you mean something like the high res mode in the G9, then, well, the G9 is the only camera that does that, and that one does 4 times the resolution. It is an 80 megapixel file. I think I got that right. It's a massive, massive file, but it can only be used when the camera's on a tripod and your scene is relatively static, or you can't have things moving because it's actually taking multiple pictures. We actually did a whole video on the high-res mode. We'll link to that up here. That was super cool. Really explained how that whole thing worked, at least as much as I could, because it's still kind of mind-numbing stuff. But yeah, that's your high-res mode. So I don't know how high-res you want to go. That G9's high-res mode is quite limited just because it only works in very specific situations. If you want something that's more multi-purpose than the GH5, certainly a GH5 and a GH5S is a phenomenal pairing. You are limited in some ways on video on the G9 to what you have on the GH5. We did a whole video of GH5 versus G9. We'll link to that one up here as well. You definitely want to check that out if you haven't. Gosh, I'm going to run out of things to point to pretty soon here. But yeah, I would, Ryan says I've got two. I can point two more times and then I'm cut off. I would probably go with the GH5, given that you are primarily a video shooter. And if you need a high-res still, keep in mind that the high-res still thing on the G9 is fantastic, right? And it means you can set up the camera on a tripod, point the camera to scene, click the button, and you get an 80-megapixel file. But if you have a bit more time, you can still take a series of pictures and stitch them together in Photoshop, right? You can go click, 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 and you can do this as many times as you want, and you can create as large of a resolution file as you want by simply panning around your scene, making sure there's overlap, throwing them into Photoshop, and letting it do its thing with the panoramic mode, which honestly works really, really well. I've created some massive files that way. And even in there, you can have some movement in the scene. It's going to be okay. The software will compensate for it for the most part, and anything that isn't, you can always go in and retouch. But if you rarely need high resolution, like super high resolution, and on those times when you need it, you can afford to click around. You don't even need a tripod, right? You can literally handhold and go click, 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 pan around the scene. Then I would say go with the GH5 for sure. If you absolutely need that 80-megapixel file and you need it in a situation where you have to set the camera on a tripod, push the button once, and that's it, then the G9 is the only option that you've got. So hopefully that helps at least a little bit assured creative media. Okay, let's go back to the next one. So the next one is from Skygate PEI. It says, I'm trying to find a quality clip-on camera strap for my GH5S without having to fit those stupid dangly bits. The strap shown on your YouTube page is exactly what I'm looking for. Could you provide a link for it? P.S. My new GH5S came with the GH5 strap, no sexy red S on it. Thought it was a bit cheap of Panasonic. That's funny. I never ever use those straps. I have no idea. It could say you're a bumbling fool and not a good photographer on it, and I wouldn't know. I haven't ever actually looked. Anyway, the strap that he's talking about is right here. It is from a company called Lance. Oh, that was a good move. Called Lance Camera Straps. I love this strap. Love, love, love it. I just yanked my audio cord. How did that? Didn't I just unplug it? It's like I unplugged it and then it wasn't unplugged. That was bizarre. This is the strap you're talking about, called Lance Camera Straps. And what I do here, let's do this. Okay, he's talking about these little dangly bits. These, I hate these too. First thing I do is usually take them off. I have no idea why they're still on here. So I usually take those off, like on this camera. There we go. You can see it's been taken off. I then have, because I rarely shoot with the strap. This strap comes with, well, actually you can get it in any variety of ways, but comes with just a standard little simple clip. So I can get the strap on there very, very quickly if that is what I in fact want to do for whatever reason. So this is an example of a camera set up just to carry around tourism kind of thing, or maybe I do want a strap. These are from a company called Lance, lancecamerastraps.com. I think that's right. Let me just double check that, lancecamerastraps.com. Let's try that and see if that works. And yes, that is it. Lance Camera Straps. Go there. I don't have any affiliate link or anything for you in there, I'm sorry to say. Actually, you know what? That might not be true. Whenever you're buying anything anywhere, photography related, if there's a place for a discount code, try PhotoJoseph. I often ask for these codes and they give them to me and then I just forget about it because it's been years. Try it. You might get something off. I have no idea. But anyway, I love their straps. I have a couple of them. You can get them completely custom length. You can get adjustable ones. You can get different types of tips on it. They're not the cheapest camera straps, but I really, really like them. So that is the strap that I use, and that was Skygate PEI. So thank you for the question. All right, next up, back to the computer. Could you do a video on flashes for Lumix? I just bought one. Don't really know how to use it. I could. Z-films. I most certainly could, and I most certainly shall. I've actually already put that on my list. That's one I kind of did a little bit before. I've done some about it. Let's see. I got 2 links left. All right, I'm going to link to one at least. This link is either going to be to a flash or to a playlist of flash videos because I don't remember how much I've done, but I've done some. So we'll link to that up here, and then at some point in the future, I will do another video on it because it's fun. It's kind of a fun thing to do. Okay. Let's see here. Next one. Teresa Leggett says, so based on the wisdom of YouTubers, we are a wise bunch, aren't we, who said the Nocticron was sharp edge-to-edge wide open, I shot some ocean landscape pics wide open, and not so much. I knew better, but thought maybe this is a magic lens. So my magic is, what the heck do they mean when they say sharp edge-to-edge wide open? I don't think it means what I think it means. I think that what you think it means is what it's supposed to mean. I think that what maybe you're seeing is some YouTubers who are a little excited. I don't know that any lens is perfectly sharp, edge to edge, wide open. There's always a sweet spot on a lens, and the better quality of the lens, the sharper it is at the edges, even wide open. That said, I shoot with the Nocticron wide open quite often. I don't know that I've ever pixel peeped the edges to see how sharp they are or are not. So I can't say to you, oh, those YouTubers are totally wrong, or those YouTubers are totally right, and there's something wrong with your copy of the lens, which is always possible. Always possible if there's something wrong with the one that you've got. Overall, the Nocticron, which happens to be the one that's on here right now, the Nocticron is one of my favorite, sharpest. It's just an incredible, incredible lens. But if you're not getting that perfect edge sharpness, then I would stop down just a little bit. That's one of the advantages. You know, sometimes I remember in the early days of getting into higher end lenses and thinking, okay, so you can spend all this money on a Nocticron lens, you know, an f1.2 lens, or when I was shooting Canon, the 50 mil f1.2, and this is an expensive lens. And you go, okay, the 51.2 is, let's call it $2,000. I don't know, it's probably more than that, but let's just say it's $2,000. And then you got a 50 f1.4 that's like $1,000, and a 50 f1.8 that's $500. I'm making up those prices, but just work with me here. And you think, well, I don't need to shoot at 1.2. I'm going to shoot at 1.4, probably shoot at 1.8 most of the time. I may as well save the money. Okay, but if you want the sharpest scene, you are usually, sharpest view, edge to edges, you're usually going to stop down at least a little bit. And so that 1.2 stops down to 1.4 to get your sharpest lens. You think, well, I'm shooting at 1.4. Why not just buy the 1.4? Well, the 1.4 is not going to be its sharpest till you get to 1.8, and so on and so on. So that's one of those things to consider of why you might actually want to put the money into a faster lens, more expensive lens, even if you're not necessarily shooting it wide open. Just a little pearls of wisdom, or not so wise wisdom, as it may be. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's go to the next one here. The Construction Podcast says, I saw your video comparing GH5 and GH5S. Excellent. Comparing the cameras on the stills side, how do things stand? Also on the video side, does the GH5S do everything the GH5 does? Okay, so two-part question. Comparing the stills, I have not shot stills on the GH5S other than a couple of like very quick random, because it was the camera that I had in my hand and it was for like a thumbnail or something, which, you know, fine. But I haven't done any of the real still photography with it. Given that it's only 10 megapixels, unless I was doing extreme low light photography, and the most important thing was the lowest noise profile, lowest noise level versus a higher resolution file, I would be pretty hard pressed to shoot stills with the GH5S. I mean, the GH5S is really designed to do video. Obviously it does stills, but yeah, I wouldn't really be going for it. So I don't have an answer to your question of how do they compare, other than I can tell you it will clearly be a much superior low light performance, but also be a much lower resolution image. That's 10 megapixels to 20 is quite a big difference. And the other question was, on the video side, does the S do everything that the GH5 does? Yeah, I don't think there's anything missing. I don't believe you have anything on. I could be wrong. Sorry, I didn't take the time to research that one before. I'm pretty sure if you've watched the comparison video, and in that video I didn't say, but the GH5 does and the S doesn't, then I think you're safe to assume that it does everything. Don't totally quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So hopefully that's right. Okay, that was the last one in there. So now let's take a look at the questions that are coming up here in the comments, because there are a few, and see what we've got here. Let me scroll back up to the top. Where are we? Here we go. We can talk about that. Marvin PA, on the Panasonic, can you play back slow motion video on the camera screen? Okay, yes, absolutely. If you put your camera into a VFR mode, variable frame rate mode, you are choosing first to shoot your video in 30p 2997 or 2398 or 24 if you're in cinema mode, or 25 if you're in PAL mode. But you're choosing a final frame rate. Let's just call it 30 frames per second, make it easy. Okay. And then you go enable VFR and you say shoot VFR at 60 frames per second. Okay, so now we're shooting twice as many frames per second as we need for 30. That is going to get mapped in the camera so that the file that you get out of the camera is 30 frames per second, which with each recorded frame being laid out to a frame of that 30. So if you had shot 60 frames over the course of 1 second and it's going to play back at 30 frames per second, you're now playing it back at half speed. You're going to see that video at half speed. And that is permanently baked into the file, and that is what you're going to see when you hit play on the back of the camera. If you take a camera, you crank it all the way up to 180 frames per second, you hit record for 1 second, and then you hit play, you are going to see that playback over much more than 1 second, whatever that would be, and you'll see everything playing back in slow motion. So yes, you absolutely see that in camera. If, however, you are shooting in a 60p mode, so 1080p 60 or 4K Ultra HD 60p, just as 60p, not in VFR, not in variable frame rate, but just in 60p, when you hit play, you're seeing it play back in real time. You are actually seeing 60 frames playback per second. Not until you drop it onto a 30p timeline and say play it back at half speed will you see it in slow motion. So, so the answer to your question is yes. You see, when you shoot slow motion, you see that in camera, but if you're shooting 60p with the intention of slowing it down later, you will not. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, Spike DJS says, greetings from Kent in the UK. Hello to Kent in the UK. Question for you on the GH5, can you get a wireless trigger that goes on the shoe rather than going out and having to buy another FL360 strobe? Oh, okay, not from Panasonic. So he's saying, he wants to shoot wireless flash, meaning off-camera flash somewhere without a wire going between them, and he wants to trigger it from the camera without having to buy another flash. So if you own two flashes, two Lumix flashes, put one on the camera, one somewhere else, you can use this flash to fire that flash. And you can actually tell the camera whether you want this flash to illuminate the scene or only to act as a trigger to trigger that other flash. That's all built into the system. However, that means you have to actually have two flashes. So the question is, can you buy something that you can put on your hot shoe that will trigger the flash that isn't itself a flash? Basically, can I not spend as much money buying a flash when I don't need a flash? All I need is a trigger. The answer is yes, but not from Panasonic. So the most robust is a system out there is the what are they called? The trigger, the wireless. Hold on a second, I've got one over here. I always forget these things. What they're called? The wireless flash system, kind of the standard Pocket Wizard. There we go, Pocket Wizard. That's the one. So Pocket Wizards are made now, and they've been made for I think over a year. They've been on the market. The Flex TT5, these are for Panasonic. So these operate as a trigger. There we go. This operates as both a transmitter and a receiver. It's called a transceiver, a hybrid of the two. You put one of these on your camera, you put another one on your flash, and then this triggers that. Now, to be fair, you will end up spending just about as much money as you did on another flash if you're just buying two of them, but as you add more and more to the system, then your cost kind of starts to roll down. Plus, this is wired. It's radio, not infrared, so your range is much better. It is not line of sight. If you do it from the flash, it requires line of sight. So if I wanted to put a flash, like, I don't know, behind a curtain somewhere, behind a window, you couldn't do that with the infrared view. You have to have radio triggers for that. Can you buy just a infrared light trigger for that? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. The cheapest way to go, though, I'll show you what that is. I did an article on this a long time ago. Let's see if I can find it. Ooh, let's see here. If I go to my PhotoJoseph.com website, if you haven't gone there, by the way, you should totally, wait, that's not me. You should totally go to PhotoJoseph.com. Why did that redirect to YouTube? That was weird. Here we go. Look, that's my PhotoJoseph. Oh my God, look at that fabulous picture that Ryan picked for that. Okay, it's all his fault. This is the blog. If we go to the search more and we hit search for GX8 Flash. Pretty sure that will get us there. Yes. This one right here, off-camera wireless flash photography featuring the LUMIX GX8. So the GX8 is irrelevant here. What's relevant is this tiny little flash on here. This tiny little flash, this little guy right here, comes with the LX100. But you can buy it as a part, and I have a link somewhere down here on how to buy it as a part. You can buy it as a part, and then here's the links down at the bottom. And then you can use just that tiny little flash, which is way cheaper than a big flash, as a trigger. So it's the cheapest way that I know of to get optical flash triggering without having to buy the full-on big flash. So check that out. We'll put a link to that in the show description notes thing down below as well. All right, next. Tony Hill says, hi from, oh, wrong one. Tony Hill says, hi from London. Did you take your G9 on your vacation? I did. I shot, did I do any high res? I fully had intention to do high res. I'm pretty sure I did some. I don't remember. I know that was the plan. I was going to. I did bring it with me. I didn't shoot much with it, but I did have it. And I had all grand, you know, when you're on vacation, you're like, I have all these plans of what I'm going to do. Yeah, right. It didn't all happen. So I don't know I don't know. I did bring it with me. That's the answer to your question. It's kind of a lame answer because I don't know what I actually shot with it. But I'm pretty sure I shot something. David Fritzen says, just got my GH5S and going to be doing a run and gun shoot following a skateboarder, shooting in vlog. Any tips on quickly exposing and white balancing if it gets darker throughout the day? A variable ND filter is going to be your friend. Watch those scopes, man. That's going to be, watch the waveform. That's going to be a tough one shooting something run and gun like that in vlog. You really, really got to be careful. I would say go to the website leaminglut.com. Let me make sure that's right. Leaminglut.com. Let me make sure that is correct. Nope, it's not that. Leaminglut. Let me just search for that. Leaminglut Tone or Leaminglut 1. Leaminglut 1. This is the website. Leaminglut 1. This website has very, very, very useful information on how to shoot in vlog. You can download a PDF. You can buy profiles, which I highly recommend. €25. Get profiles and a full instruction PDF on how to shoot it. I would say this is very, very good information. You can get most of the info right here, but this person has obviously put a lot of time and effort into this. So if you're going to use the information, buy the LUT pack, even if you don't use it, just to support them. Very good education here on how to shoot in log. So read that if you haven't already, but you are going to want that variable ND, and you're going to be really, really careful, really keep an eye on the exposure on there. It can definitely be hard to do. And if you're shooting with a GH5S, not stabilized, I'm assuming you're going to be using some kind of a gimbal. It's over there, I'm not going to grab it, but the ICANN angled one that I showed off last week's show is pretty awesome. I'm loving that thing. All right, Ernie says, thank you for your reply. You're quite welcome for your reply, Ernie. Let's see if there's anything else in here. MG Howard, in the ad for the G9, they advertise a conservation photographer. How do you feel about that system for a real estate photographer who wants to move into wildlife landscape photography? I mean, it's a great camera. Whatever, if you're doing still photography, the G9 is fantastic. If you're doing real estate, things like the high res mode are, you think, ideal for real estate because the camera's on a tripod and nothing's moving. You push the button, you get the super high res picture. But let's face it, real estate deliverables are 800 by 600 pixels. It doesn't matter to have the high res mode. But it is overall, of course, a great camera for that. You also have things like the built-in HDR mode, which are quite cool. So you'll have that on. You'll have that on all of the Lumix cameras. So that's not unique to the G9. But the G9 is certainly going to be great for your real estate work, as would pretty much any of the Lumix cameras, to be perfectly honest. Moving into wildlife/landscape, well, in that case, for the landscape especially, you might really appreciate that much higher resolution, high res mode. So if you know you're going to do landscape stuff, you know that you want to have really big prints, then yeah, get the G9, man. Get that nice big hybrid image thing, whatever it's called. We already linked to it up here, the description about how that whole high res mode works. It's pretty slick. It is pretty slick, and for landscape photography is exactly the kind of thing that it's made for on a not too windy day. Put that caveat in there. David Fritzen says, would definitely love that video on Lumix flashes. Cool, cool. I will do that at some point. Lucid Productions. Was the Atomos Ninja clamping issue on log footage in FCP resolved yet? No, but we're getting closer. It's been a very interesting journey, and I'm talking with all companies involved, and because I'm doing other things, and obviously it was just on vacation, I haven't been super on top of the follow-up. I got a new contact at Atomos who has a new theory of what's happening. It's been interesting to see some of the finger pointing, and I'm not sure, I don't know yet who is right, who is wrong, but we're getting closer. I think that the potential, the most likely two scenarios here are either the LUT that I was applying is a Rec 709 LUT and not a Rec 2020 LUT, which means that it is clamping that down into Rec 709 space, which it shouldn't be that case. So the new contact at Atomos has actually asked me to send them that LUT, which I'm going to do today, so they can look at it, they can take it apart, whatever it is they do, and take a look and see what it is. Which then leads me to question, where did that LUT actually come from? I have said repeatedly that I think it comes with Final Cut Pro because it's on all of my systems, but no one has confirmed to me that they've set up a clean system and seen that LUT or not seen that LUT. So it's entirely possible that came from somewhere else. However, Apple has also looked at it and said that they think there's something wrong with the file. But if this LUT is a Rec 709 LUT, then that would not be the case. So do not have an answer yet, but we're still working on it. Thanks for asking, though. Marvin PA, thanks for the response. I'll check it out in full when you upload the whole stream. Excellent. And that's it. MG Howard says, thanks for the good info and good point on real estate deliverables. Yeah, that's all very low res. Okay, super. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your questions for today's AMA. I hope that was useful. Hey, other stuff that's potentially happening, we are going to try Twitch, try streaming to Twitch. And my intention was to do a simultaneous stream to Twitch and to YouTube and see how that worked out. But that was just informed by my friends over at Live Streaming Pros that is actually against Twitch's terms of service if you are monetizing or if you've become a partner or something. I don't know exactly what that is. So we may not be able to simultaneously stream. So I don't know what's going to happen. I want to do, I think we'll probably do some simul streams just while we're testing, just to see what happens and maybe not monetize or whatever. But I've been advised that there's more money, there's more gold in them Thar hills over there on the Twitch side. So we're definitely going to experiment with it and figure it out. I don't know if that means that we start doing alternate shows, you know, one on this channel, one on the other. It's still a ways away. Ryan, is the Twitch channel all set up? It is all set up. So can people find it easily? Just PhotoJoseph? Okay. If you go to Twitch, sign up. I don't know if you have to sign up or what, but subscribe to PhotoJoseph on there. We haven't streamed at all yet. The account was set up while I was away. But subscribe to it so that you get notified when we do go live there, because I don't know when that'll be. But it's an experiment. We're going to be trying that out because, hey, that's what it's all about, is always trying the next best thing and seeing what happens. So that's that. All right, folks, that is everything today. Let's throw this thing up here. It's a little bit late now, but I should have brought this up earlier. But as we always like to say here on this show, we go for a value for value model. If you feel like you learned something useful today, if you learned something of value, then put a little value back to me. If you go to photojoseph.com/support, you can find the various ways to do that. You can put value via Patreon, sending in a little monthly contribution. You can do a one-off via PayPal. You can shop in my affiliate store, of which pretty much every camera-related thing you could possibly want to buy, you can get to from there. Or if you're doing something big, you can hire me directly, which is always an option as well. So there you go. If you learned something, give back. That would be awesome. Okay, that's it, folks. We'll see you Wednesday, if not sooner, over on the Twitch side of things. And otherwise, have a fantastic week. See you around. Bye-bye.